Hangout spots and dining establishments are a dime a dozen in BGC, but that same diversity is what makes it so enchanting to explore each one to learn more about their stories, the concept and cuisine that earn them their place in this highly competitive location. Today, we explore Bueno Tapas and Wine by Chef Kennedy Alfonso. And if the name rings a bell, Chef Kennedy, also known in the local showbiz circles as Ken Alfonso, acted in several projects under the GMA network in the 2010s before pursuing his passion of a full-time career in the culinary arts. BGC is actually home to the second branch of Bueno Tapas, with the first one located in the Grove by Rockwell in Pasig. Chef Kennedy's other restaurant, Tartufo Ristorante, is right next door and serves up Italian cuisine. You can actually catch a glimpse of Tartufo at the very start of this video. For the most part, the interiors of Bueno show a contemporary style with some nods to the traditional Spanish aesthetic. A well-stocked bar, soft warm lighting, gold accents, and Spanish tiles channel the inviting feel of a traditional tapas bar, but for the modern, Instagram-loving bunch. A major highlight is, of course, the wine selection that is beautifully displayed in the dining room, complete with quirky decor to keep things casual. Let's take a look at their menus. The comprehensive beverage selection has its own menu separate from the food. And before we launch into the food portion of this video, let's talk about the inspiration behind the menu. Chef Kennedy's appreciation for Spanish food, his travels to various regions in Spain, and his studies there influenced the way he shaped the Bueno menu into something that respects both the Spanish approach to preparing food and the Filipino palate. No, it's not fusion, but more of his personal take that remains mindful to the taste of the local patrons. This translates to the flavors of the food coming primarily from the quality of the meat and the fresh, vibrant flavors of the herbs, vegetables, and other ingredients, rather than leaning into the salty, sweet flavor profiles that we are typically used to. By no means does this equate to bland servings. Rather, it wakes up the taste buds to explore the nuances of the Spanish dishes. For this meal, most of the dishes served are part of the highlighted chef's recommendations from the menu. The attention to detail is noticeable right off the bat from the bread plate. The breadsticks and slices come with a tomato dip resembling a fresh salsa that accentuates the ripeness of the tomatoes. Restaurants usually have their own version of a house blend iced tea. The Bueno iced tea is a slush-type blended concoction. It has a brewed tea flavor with a sweet citrusy highlight. From the tapas menu, the croquetas de manchego has a super smooth and creamy filling with a taste of bechamel. Those are manchego cheese shavings on top, so you get a nice contrast from the salty goodness of the cheese, and it doesn't get lost in the rich filling. Another tapas pick, the Vieras Chamuscadas, features large seared scallops and mushrooms served with a sweet creamed corn puree type of sauce. The scallops are extremely soft, requiring only minimal effort to chew, and the mushrooms have also been seared to produce a toasted, caramelized flavor that cuts through the sweet corn puree. Next up is the gambas al ajillo, and I'll include some of the original audio for the ASMR.
Would you like to order?
The garlicky oil is well infused with the aromatics without being too heavy-handed with the garlic. There's a little bit of a spicy kick, and the shrimp have a bite to them, no overcooked pieces here. Rounding out the tapas selection is the tuetano asado, which is roasted bone marrow with an herb dip. This is served with crunchy slices of bread and some salt to sprinkle on top. The dip is buttery and adds to the richness already present in the melt-in-your-mouth bone marrow. Of course, this must be consumed quickly while the bone marrow is still tender and jelly-like. The red wine used for the Bueno Sangria isn't the sweet kind, but it does highlight the flavor of the various pieces of fruit in the drink. If you want to keep the meal light and wholesome, the salmon al horno is a garlicky baked salmon dish served with cauliflower rice. The seasoning is just so that the natural flavors of the vegetables stand out. The estofado de res is beef braised for 8 hours and done in the Catalan style. Needless to say, the meat is quite tender and the sauce is reminiscent of an osobuco. A serving of chicharron here means something a little different. You get a thick slice of crispy and fatty pork belly on a bed of silky smooth mashed potatoes and gravy. The gravy reminds me of a popular local chain sauce in terms of flavor and consistency, but this flavor profile works just as well with liempo instead of chicken. Now we move on to the paella section. The arroz meloso de rabo de toro is oxtail done in a risotto style, meaning there's a lot of sauce soaked up by the rice in this dish. And this sauce has thoroughly absorbed the meaty flavor of the oxtail. The paella de alcachofa's star ingredient is the artichoke. The rice tastes more like the traditional paella valenciana, and the artichokes are quite mellow and not too tangy. While the paella iberico may have a dinuguan aesthetic, the flavors are vastly different from that of the traditional Filipino dish. The dark sauce is a black peppery duxelle that goes well with the slices of tender iberico pork. For dessert, we've got two of their best sellers here, the churros con chocolate and the Biscoff tarta queso. The churros con chocolate has a thick and sweet chocolate sauce that's more like a chocolate syrup or ganache type dip rather than a more bitter chocolate. The Biscoff tarta queso is Biscoff cheesecake served with dramatic flair. A liquor is poured over the top of a slice of soft-set cheesecake and subsequently torched. This is then followed by the pouring of the Biscoff sauce. And instead of the cheesecake being baked into a crushed graham crust, you get a bed of the crushed crackers. A lot of the liquor flavor does remain in the dessert, so watch out for that kick in every bite. Please subscribe for more content like this.